Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining in today. Today we're on the Brighton branch, and we are building the co-op job out of Brighton. This is a local job that runs from Brighton over past Templeton, and between Templeton and the UP crossover there is a large co-op facility just serving local farms and such, and we're going to work the train that goes and works that co-op. This is a fun job to run. It is a bit of a puzzle at times. It's not really by design, it's more by space constraints. But everything we want to grab is off track 7. So take a look here at our switch list so you can see what we're going to be getting. And we're going to spend some time just kind of watching us, some of the highlights at least, as we classify and build this train to depart Brighton Yard. Our power today is going to be a 10-wheeler, 460. Won't be too long before we get him over at the head end of the train and get him ready to go. In case you're wondering what's going on right now, we are actually blocking this train. The switch yard and the yard crew does not technically have to block this train, but you know, since I'm running it in single player, I wanted to go ahead and block it just to make it easier for when I go to switch, since the co-op is kind of actually quite challenging to run. I guess you can say that's the benefit of having some experience. It is only my 3rd time running this job though, so I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a pro. I do really enjoy this route. It is a 1 baseboard route. If you've seen some of the old videos, you would know that. If you haven't, welcome to the Brighton branch. It's definitely a switching layout. However, you know, if you do try to simulate some mainline running, you do get a few areas where you can stretch your train out a little bit and have some fun with some good shots and things. There are a lot of very tight, woodsy and rural scenes everywhere. Very close to the track. The track is kind of sunk into the ground because it's a branch line. So it makes for some nice scenes. And finally, we're ready to depart Brighton Yard, so we're going to go ahead and head out. Little false start there, sorry about that. We'll just say that the brakeman had a brake set back there that he forgot to, to loosen up. There we go. Now we're finally moving. Just getting worried there for a minute. I do really enjoy these steam engines. These are from Steve Laro over at Trainz. I did buy these years ago, long before I considered doing a YouTube channel. And I just love these smaller locomotives for the CN pack. I just think they're fantastic. Here we go, getting around to the Y on the south side of Brighton. I was asked recently where I would say this branch line is located, because it's completely fictional, and I figured I would say that it's somewhere up in northern Michigan. Not that that means that there's any sort of special industry or anything that I modeled, but you know, I figured you could claim that it's like a long lost branch line off the Grand Trunk Western or something. Here we go, passing through Templeton, and so I've got the switch list pulled up. These are going to be where we're going to set our cars out, and then this is going to be the cars that we pick up from the co-op. And when you run this train, you need to use the siding in Templeton a little bit, so whenever the co-op train is running, we're going to make sure that we don't run the Templeton train, because they would not have enough space to work around each other. Usually the first thing we do is service the flat track. This is where we do any shipments for tractors or farm equipment, or anything heavy and bulky that won't fit in the boxcar. Once again, not necessarily saying that I'm a pro, but I do typically sometimes leave my pickup from the spur on the spur, actually, so that I can try to get around it. Typically, the way I like to do is I like to build this train behind the caboose with my outbound cars. That way, when it's time to run around it over in Templeton, it's just nice and easy, quick move. We're going to run over here and get this stock car out of the way because we're actually picking him up. Plus, we need him out of the way in order to reach these two spurs that you see now with the box cars. We are also picking up both those box cars and the two box cars on the next spur as well. Problem is we don't have enough footage on the lead in order to grab both at the same time. Once again, that's not necessarily because I wanted to make it hard or time consuming, but more just because I didn't have the space. Alright, so there's those pickups getting shoved back. It is typically in your favor to go ahead and grab all the pickups first before you start trying to do setouts, just because you would have nowhere to put your setouts. On average, the spurs here usually hold just 1 or 2 cars. But now at this point, we've actually completed all our pickups. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and connect to the caboose. And we're going to go ahead and shove clear of the switch here so that every car that we're going to be setting out is behind this switch. And then that will allow us to get our pickups up on the siding. Once we get them on the siding, they will finally be out of our way and we can get on to the next round of fun stuff. These two reefers here are the end of our setouts. So we're going to cut between the flat car and that first reefer right there. Then we're going to throw this switch and make sure that we're lined into the siding. If we don't take the switch into the siding, we're instead going to end up smacking into any waiting cars on the Templeton team track, which would not be good. So we're going to make sure we don't do that. And now you see we're coming on back, so we're going to take every single car we just picked up. Should be 5 cars behind the locomotive, and we're going to leave those on the siding. And then go ahead and reconnect to the part of our train that we brought with us from Brighton. All right, now we're pulling that cut out, and what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and leave that caboose on the back of our pickups on the siding. And this is kind of the funky part, but for the rest of our work on this train, we're going to be working with that stock car right in front of the locomotive. You know, I didn't live in the 1930s to see how railroads did switching, but you know, I would imagine that at least from time to time, the engineer had the unlucky privilege of having a car in front of him while he was trying to do some work behind him. So one of those things, if it were a real railroad, they would probably have plenty of space to do all the work they needed, and you probably wouldn't have to do that. But it is a model railroad. It is a very small one at that, and so space is a premium. Alright, there we go, leaving the caboose back with the pickups. And we're going to go ahead and pull back into the co-op to start working our setouts. So we are going to go ahead and break the train up so we can start kind of putting things together just one more time. Just to make sure that we've got all the cars together that are going to go onto the same spurs. And even though you see that I'm running it a certain way, that does not mean that if you were to download this route from the download station and then try to run this train that you would be forced to do it the same way. There is still quite a bit of space for flexibility. And I'm not going to sit here and say that the way I'm doing it right now is necessarily the most time saving. It might be, but I'm not going to be arrogant and think that I know it all, because history shows that I don't. But there are technically there are car spots right in front of the co-op facility itself. There are 2 car spots next to the cut we just picked up for reefers, for milk. And then, of course, the stock cars go back up in the lead to the right of the locomotive there. And then we have 2 spurs in the back for warehousing and feed and those kinds of things. When I was building this route, I did mostly try to focus just on getting good detail around the track and not really worrying too much about depth or background scenes, because I wanted to try to face the challenge of building a nicely functioning model railroad on one baseboard. All right, now that we've got everything blocked like we want, we're going to go ahead and pull up here so we can start our setouts on these 2 spurs in the back. Notice we still have that stock car right there in front. When I run locals, I do try, if they're a turn like this one, I do try to only run around the train one time. I think that's a very fun challenge that kind of makes you think ahead and try to plan your moves accordingly. It also can at times make you take a lot longer because you're having to do all this weird movement instead of just running around a couple times. But I personally just don't really like to run around trains. It's just me. But that's the beauty of it. When you run a train, you can run it your way. So we leave the 2 boxcars in front of the co-op. We leave the 2 reefers on their spot. And now we're going to go back, grab our train. And these are the tracks in Brighton where we will be setting them out. So here we are at Templeton. We've already run around. And now we're going to back up to a connect. Sorry about that whistle there. I forgot to change direction, and so that was the caboose's whistle. Conductor giving me a signal over there. Well, we're coming into Brighton Yard, and what we're going to do here is go ahead and prepare our train to get broken down. But we're not going to watch that this time, so thank you guys for joining. Just really want to say I appreciate all the support on YouTube. The channel's really been growing really fast these last few days, and it's been really encouraging to see. I'm glad to see that you guys enjoy the content. Please stay tuned for more stuff. I've got some videos on the NTB coming up. Definitely going to do another live stream soon, but make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you soon.